Hi, this is Dan Bullard, retired electronics engineer, sitting on the front deck of my houseboat. It's a beautiful day. I want to talk real quick about a couple things. I'm having a hard time explaining to you how the Bullard Harmonic solution works. And I got my wife to draft this thing up. You know I hate drawings. I really hate drawings, but I'm married to an artist. So I can't do this stuff in Excel because I don't have a PC anymore. But I let her draw what a Bullard Harmonic solution looks like on a graphic that you know very well, a distortion on the top of a sine wave on the applicos. And so this is what the curve looks like. It's a cosine wave. I told you that. Thank you. The geese are having a good time. It is getting close to spring, so they're getting ready to fly north. The Bullard Harmonic solution is based on a cosine. It's not hard to understand. And law 6, that's due to the ABS function. I realized the ABS function was needed, and years later realized that's a law. That means that a distortion at the top peak or the bottom peak have exactly the same spectrum. This curve shows that the harmonics go to zero at some point, and they do. If you look in my book, More on Harmonics for Morons, the harmonics go to zero at some point. But getting that 0 point to line up with a harmonic is infinitely difficult. I mean, you got to have amazing resolution. And remember that in Excel, you can't do an FFT on anything over 4096 points. And I've never got it to work above 2048 points. So you can't get anything to work with a number of points more than 4096, period. And that's not enough resolution for some cases. Now, if you have another tool that does an FFT, that's great. But make goddamn sure that it has 64-bit resolution. Recently, I looked back at that video that I did on Spice. The numbers for the harmonics of a triangle wave are off by quite a bit. Not a lot, but you know, it's quite a bit. Those numbers are due to the 32-bit math that Spice does. So everybody who's using Spice, they're idiots. Don't use Spice. Don't use Spice. You know, well, there's got to be an alternative. Well, come up with one. Make one. Create one yourself. Get away from 32-bit math. It's terrible. 64-bit math is the only way to do it. And like I said, in Excel, when I calculate the phase of a harmonic, it comes up 90.0 or 180.0 or 270.0 or 0.0. The numbers never go off into infinity with random shit. But Spice does, and I don't trust Spice. I will never trust Spice. Okay, it's a really cool thing. The Bullard Harmonic solution is beautiful, and that is absolutely, this is not an approximation. The Bullard Harmonic solution is the absolute truth to the formation of harmonics. Absolute. There's no getting around it. It's a law of physics. A law of physics. Speaking of people guesstimating on things, I recently wrote that email to Dr. Mack Grady, who worked at Baylor University, and he taught also at University of Texas in Austin. And I've been to Austin many times. I like Austin. But Mack Grady, Dr. Mack Grady, I gave him a number of opportunities to look into my stuff, and I gave him some videos. And so I gave him my video that I did when it was snowing, and that was on the Bullard laws of harmonics. 33 people watched that video. Then I gave him another video, and 28 people or something watched that one. Then I gave him this most recent one I gave him the video where I modified the amplitudes of the harmonics by 2, by 4, by 8, by 16, or by -2, -4, -8, -16. And it changes the way that the time domain wave looks. You change the harmonics and then do an inverse FFT. But I never changed the fundamental. Never changed the fundamental. And so what that means is law 1 becomes dead obvious. The area of the waveform remains the same. That is, amount of space between 0 and the top peak and 0 and the minus peak are exactly the same for any distortion that I did to it by manipulating the harmonics in the complex form. So when I do that, it changes the shape of the waveform totally, but the area of the fundamental never changes, never changes. That's law 1. That's a law of physics. You can't argue with it. You cannot argue with it. We're talking Newton level stuff here, okay? Now, I sent all this stuff off to Dr. Mack Grady, and I don't think he's actually reading this stuff. I think he's got these, gophers doing it. I think he's got college students who are doing it and covering this stuff for him. But they are watching my videos, and I think like 14 of them have watched that video. But it's an uphill battle, and I haven't got an answer on my emails at all. The only thing I can do is I send them a video, and then I watch the number of views, and the number of views. These videos have been stationary for years, so nobody watches them. Nobody's just jumping in there and watching them. So if the count goes up, it's because these people are watching the videos. So I know how many views I'm getting from these people. So that's the only feedback I've gotten from my emails from Mack Grady. So Mack Grady, the gloves are off. Now I did a AI, because I've used Brave. I did AI to look into Mack Grady on harmonics. W. Mack Grady is known for his contribution to the analysis and control of power system harmonics and power quality. He has published extensively on the topic, publishing the cause of harmonic problems, their effect on power systems, and various solutions to mitigate these issues. So, according to AI, Mack Grady he's an expert at this stuff. He's an expert. That's what AI says. Now, I don't necessarily trust AI, but here's what AI says about me. The Bullard laws of harmonics are a set of rules, they're laws, that describe the behavior of harmonics in distorted sine waves. According to these laws, and I give you the laws here. So, you know these laws. I've covered them very well. They only have 5 of them. They don't have all 6. So they're kind of behind the times. But they're not rules. They're laws. They are laws of physics. I mean, provable down to 64 bits. 64 bits of numbers. So you take 64-bit math. That's what the Bullard laws of harmonics follow. Not like Spice, where they only do 32 bits. And, I've done this. I've been working on computers since 1970-something. So I know they're just junk. In fact, my first computer that I worked on was on the Genrad GR16. Now is a PDP 1144. And we used, for our office computer, we used a PDP 1134. So that's how long I've been working on computers. And I was an expert at the 1144. I hate to say it, but I was an expert at the 1144 and RSX11 and all that stuff. I really had a good time with RSX11. It was a great computer, and I learned Pascal and C and programming, scripting, everything. I did everything. Unix, I did everything in Unix. And I would do things like, when I was at Intel, the Intel management required that we keep an eye on these testers, and that was the Schlumberger testers. The Schlumberger had a system where it would monitor everything, the power, the temperature, the heat, anything would be logged. And so we were getting over temps on one of the testers. And the management wanted to know what was going to be happening. If it went over temp, do we need to go out there with a fire extinguisher and put the thing out? So I wrote a script in Unix, which is not hard to do. I wrote a script in Unix to send me a text message if one of the testers got too hot, which meant it might be on fire and I'd have to call somebody to go put it out, or whatever. But that's the kind of thing that I did. And I learned from the guys at Motorola who, if someone annoying came in their office and sat down and wanted to chat, they would be on their computer and they could send themselves a text, say, oh, I'm sorry, I got a message, I got to deal with this. So they would use that as an excuse to get out of a conversation with somebody who was terribly boring. And I know where that comes from. So, Mack Grady, you're considered an expert in this thing. You better get off your ass and follow my lead. You don't know a goddamn thing about harmonics. Nothing. You don't know anything. You're a buffoon in this area. You're a buffoon. Now, you can make it up to me. You can make it up to the world by admitting that you're wrong. For all these years, 40, 50 years you were teaching, you're wrong. Follow my lead. Look into what I'm doing. This stuff is not magic. You think it's magic, it's not magic. It's really easily understandable. I mean, I can understand it. And that's the thing. Maybe it takes a guy who's not like a fucking genius to figure this out, because somebody who's not a genius can simplify things down to the, what works and what doesn't. And that's what I did in my lifetime. So, Mack Grady, I'd like to call you a friend. I don't mean to insult you, but you better get off your ass, because I think that you're going to fall to bits. Your legacy will be one of a fool. Go back and look at the guys who thought that animals like giraffes got longer necks because they stretched, and so that was the stretching alone was enough to make their necks longer. That's not it at all. That's not it at all. Darwin proved that. Be intelligent and don't guess. Okay, so once again from the river, this is Dan Bullard. See ya.